The envelope sat on Simone Baker's kitchen counter like a coiled snake, cream-colored and elegant, with her name written in perfect calligraphy. She had stared at it for 3 days before finally opening it. Inside, the invitation announced the upcoming wedding of Brandon Hayes and Tiffany Mitchell, the woman he had been sleeping with during the last year of their marriage. But it was the handwritten note tucked inside that made Simone's hands shake. "Simone, we hope you can attend. It would mean so much to see you there, celebrating with us. We know you've been alone since the divorce and we thought you might enjoy getting out and seeing happy couples. Maybe you'll catch the bouquet. You never know, it might bring you some luck in finding someone. Wishing you all the best, Brandon and Tiffany." Simone read it 3 times, each word cutting deeper than the last. The fake sweetness barely concealed the mockery underneath. They wanted her there. They wanted to parade their happiness in front of her like a trophy she had failed to win. She should throw it away. Any rational person would burn it and forget it existed. But something stubborn rose up in Simone's chest. She had spent 2 years rebuilding herself after Brandon walked out. 2 years of therapy, tears, and slowly learning to sleep alone in a bed that once held 2. She had lost 20 pounds from stress, changed her entire life, and started over from nothing when he took half of everything they owned. "You're not actually going," Renee said when Simone called her. Renee had been Simone's best friend since college, and she had hated Brandon even before the affair came to light. "I think I am," Simone replied, surprising herself with the words. "Why would you do that to yourself? You know they just want to humiliate you." "Maybe. But if I don't go, it means I'm still hiding. Still ashamed. Still letting what he did control my life." Renee sighed on the other end of the line. "Fine. But I'm coming with you. And we're buying you the most stunning dress Lagos has ever seen. If you're going to walk into that circus, you're going to look incredible doing it." The day of the wedding arrived too quickly. Simone stood in front of her mirror, barely recognizing herself. The dress Renee had insisted on was a deep emerald green that brought out the richness of her dark skin. It hugged her curves in all the right places, the kind of dress that made heads turn. Her hair was styled in elegant curls that cascaded over one shoulder, and her makeup was flawless. "You look like a queen," Renee said, adjusting Simone's necklace. "Remember that when we walk in there. You're not the broken woman he left. You're the one who survived." The church was decorated with white roses and flowing ribbons. Simone walked in with her head high, ignoring the whispers that started the moment people recognized her. She felt every eye on her as she found a seat near the back. Renee squeezed her hand. "Breathe," Renee whispered. "You've got this." The ceremony was predictably lavish. Brandon stood at the altar in a designer suit, his smile wide and confident. When Tiffany walked down the aisle in a massive white dress covered in crystals, Simone felt nothing. No jealousy, no pain. Just a distant curiosity about why she had ever thought this man was worth her tears. They exchanged vows that spoke of soulmates and destiny. Brandon's voice cracked with emotion when he promised to love Tiffany forever. Simone remembered when he had said similar words to her, 10 years ago in a much smaller church with far less expensive flowers. The reception was held at an upscale hotel downtown. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, and servers moved through the crowd with trays of champagne. Simone accepted a glass and tried to blend into the background, but Brandon spotted her immediately. "Simone," he called out, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. "You actually came." He walked over with Tiffany on his arm. Tiffany's smile was syrupy sweet, but her eyes were calculating as they traveled over Simone's dress. "Of course I came," Simone said smoothly. "Congratulations to you both." "We're so glad," Tiffany gushed, her voice dripping with false sincerity. "It's been 2 years since the divorce? We were worried you might still be upset." "Not at all. I've moved on." Brandon laughed, a sound that made several people turn to look. "Moved on? That's generous. According to our friends, you haven't dated anyone since we split. Still living in that same small apartment. Still working at that little design firm." Simone felt heat rise in her chest but kept her face neutral. "I've been focused on my career." "Of course you have," Tiffany said, touching Simone's arm in a gesture that seemed concerned but felt condescending. "Work is important when you don't have anyone to go home to. I used to be the same way before I met Brandon. It's hard being alone, isn't it?" "Actually, I'm quite happy." "Are you though?" Brandon leaned in, his cologne overwhelming. "Because from where I'm standing it looks pretty sad. No ring, no date to bring to the wedding. You couldn't even find someone to be your +1. That has to sting." Renee appeared at Simone's elbow, her expression dangerous. "Brandon, Tiffany, congratulations on finally making honest people of yourselves. Though I suppose that ships sailed when you started sleeping together while he was still married. Tiffany's smile faltered. That was a difficult time for everyone. Must have been, Renee continued. Sneaking around, lying, destroying a 10-year marriage. But hey, at least you got a wedding out of it. And what a wedding. I bet the open bar alone cost more than most people make in a year. We wanted to celebrate, Brandon said defensively. When you find your soulmate, you don't hold back. Your soulmate, Simone repeated, and something in her voice made Brandon's smile slip. The same soulmate you cheated with. I wonder, Tiffany, do you ever worry that history might repeat itself? After all, if he'll do it with you, he'll do it to you. That's different, Tiffany snapped, her sweetness evaporating. What we have is real. I'm sure it is. Just like what Brandon and I had was real. Until it wasn't. Brandon's face reddened. You know what your problem is, Simone? You can't let go. You're stuck in the past, bitter and alone, while the rest of us have moved forward with our lives. Look at you. You show up here in that dress trying to prove something to people who don't care. It's pathetic. The words hit their mark. Simone felt the familiar sting of tears but refused to let them fall. Around them, other guests had stopped pretending not to listen. They watched with the hungry eyes of people who loved drama but would never admit it. You came here hoping to make me feel small, Simone said quietly. You sent that note because you wanted to see me broken. But here's the truth, Brandon. You don't matter to me anymore. Not in the way you think. You're just a mistake I learned from. A chapter 1 closed. Empty words from an empty life, Tiffany said, linking her arm through Brandon's. We invited you out of kindness to show there were no hard feelings. But you can't even be gracious about it. Kindness, Renee laughed. You invited her to gloat. To show off your new life and make her feel less than. Well, in newsflash, you both deserve each other. Two cheaters playing house and pretending they won some kind of prize. We're done here, Brandon said coldly. Enjoy the rest of the wedding, Simone. Try not to be too jealous when we cut the cake. They walked away, Tiffany whispering something in Brandon's ear that made him laugh. Simone stood frozen, feeling the eyes of everyone around her. The humiliation washed over her in waves. She had come here to prove she was strong, but instead she felt smaller than ever. Let's go, Renee said gently. You don't need to stay here another second. No, Simone said, straightening her shoulders. If I leave now, they win. I'm going to stay. I'm going to eat their expensive food, drink their champagne, and hold my head high. Because I'm not the one who should be ashamed. But as the night wore on, Simone felt the weight of every pitying glance, every whispered conversation that stopped when she walked by. She watched Brandon and Tiffany dance, their happiness on full display, and wondered if she would ever feel whole again. When the bouquet toss came, Tiffany looked directly at Simone before throwing it. The flowers sailed through the air, and for one horrible moment, Simone thought they would land in her hands. But they veered left, caught by a squealing bridesmaid who immediately showed off to her boyfriend. Thank God, Renee muttered. That would have been the final insult. Simone slipped out before the cake cutting, unable to watch anymore. In her car, alone in the parking lot, she finally let the tears fall. They had won. Despite everything she had told herself about being strong and moving on, Brandon and Tiffany had succeeded in making her feel worthless. She drove home through empty streets, her makeup ruined and her heart heavy. The apartment Brandon had mocked waited for her, small and quiet and achingly lonely. Simone changed out of her beautiful dress and sat on her couch in old pajamas, staring at nothing. Her phone buzzed with a text from Renee. You were incredible tonight. Don't let them take that from you. You're worth 100 of them. But the words felt hollow. Simone looked around her apartment at the life she had built from the ashes of her marriage, and wondered if Brandon was right. Maybe she was stuck. Maybe she was pathetic. Maybe being alone was exactly what she deserved. The worst part was the voice in her head that sounded like Brandon, repeating his words over and over. Bitter. Alone. Pathetic. Empty. Simone went to bed that night promising herself she would prove them wrong. She didn't know how yet, but she would find a way to build a life so full and rich that Brandon's mockery would seem ridiculous. She would become someone so successful and happy that his words would lose their power. But lying in the dark, listening to the silence of her empty apartment, Simone couldn't shake the feeling that maybe, just maybe, he had been right all along. Monday morning arrived with the harsh buzz of Simone's alarm at 6. She dragged herself out of bed, her body heavy with exhaustion. The wedding had been 2 days ago, but the humiliation still clung to her like smoke from a fire. She stood in the shower longer than necessary, letting the hot water wash away the remnants of tears she had cried into her pillow. Today was important. Today she had a presentation that could change everything. Roberts and Associates, the interior design firm where Simone had worked for 5 years, was pitching for the biggest project in company history. A luxury hotel chain wanted to redesign 15 properties across the country, and they were looking for a fresh vision. Simone had spent 3 months developing her proposal, pouring every ounce of creativity into the designs. She dressed carefully in a tailored blue suit that made her feel professional and powerful. The woman in the mirror looked nothing like the crying mess from Saturday night. This woman was capable. This woman was talented. This woman was going to land this contract. "You ready for this?" her boss, Patricia Roberts, asked when Simone arrived at the office. Patricia was a sharp woman in her 60s who had built the firm from nothing and had a nose for talent. "More than ready," Simone replied, settling her portfolio on the conference table. "I've gone over the presentation a dozen times. I know these designs inside and out." "Good. Because our competitors are going to bring their best. We need to stand out." The client arrived at 9 sharp. 3 executives from Montgomery Hotel Group filed into the conference room, all expensive suits and calculating eyes. They introduced themselves briefly before settling into their chairs, notebooks open and ready. Simone took a deep breath and began. "When you stay at a hotel, you're not just renting a room," she started, clicking to her first slide. "You're buying an experience, a feeling, a memory that will stay with you long after checkout. My vision for Montgomery Hotel Group is to create spaces that don't just house guests, but transport them." She walked them through her designs, showing sleek lobbies with soaring ceilings and natural light, guest rooms that balanced luxury with comfort, restaurants that felt intimate despite their size. She had studied each of the 15 properties, understanding their unique locations and clientele, and tailored her designs accordingly. The executives asked questions. She answered them all with confidence, backing up her creative choices with research and data. When she finished, there was a long moment of silence. "This is impressive," the lead executive said finally. "Very impressive. We'll be in touch." They left without committing to anything, which was normal in the industry. But Simone felt good about the presentation. She had done her best work. Now she just had to wait. "You killed it," Patricia said when the clients had gone. "I haven't seen a presentation that strong in years. If we don't get this contract, it won't be because of you." Simone allowed herself a small smile. This was what mattered. Not Brandon's opinion of her life, not Tiffany's fake pity. This was real. This was hers. The rest of the week passed in a blur of regular work and anxious waiting. Simone threw herself into smaller projects, redesigning a boutique hotel lobby and consulting on a restaurant renovation. She worked late every night, partly because she loved her job and partly because going home to an empty apartment felt like admitting defeat. On Wednesday, Renee dragged her out for dinner. "You can't hide and work forever," Renee said over pasta at their favorite Italian restaurant. "I know the wedding was rough, but you need to live your life." "I'm living my life. I'm working on the biggest project of my career." "That's great. But when was the last time you did something just for fun? When was the last time you went on a date?" Simone stabbed at her salad. "I'm not interested in dating right now." "Because of Brandon? You're going to let that cheating jerk dictate your entire romantic life." "It's not about him. I'm just not ready." "It's been 2 years, Simone. At some point you have to let yourself move forward. And I don't mean by working yourself to death. I mean actually living." "I don't know how to do that anymore," Simone admitted quietly. "Brandon was right about one thing. I am alone. And I don't know how to be anything else." Renee reached across the table and grabbed Simone's hand. "You're alone because you're choosing to be. And that's okay if it's really what you want. But I think you're hiding. I think you're scared that if you put yourself out there again you'll get hurt." "Of course I'm scared. You saw what happened. You saw how he talked to me." "I did. And you know what I also saw? A bitter man who peaked early and knows it. Brandon married Tiffany because she worships him and makes him feel important. But you challenged him. You were his equal and he couldn't handle it. So he found someone who would make him feel big. That doesn't make me feel better." "It should. Because it means his opinion is worthless. He's a small man who needs to make others feel smaller. You're better than that. You always have been." Simone wanted to believe her. But the words from the wedding still echoed in her mind. Pathetic. Alone. Stuck. On Friday, Patricia called Simone into her office with an expression that made Simone's heart race. "They chose us," Patricia said, barely containing her smile. "Montgomery Hotel Group called an hour ago. They want you specifically to head the project. They said your vision aligned perfectly with what they're trying to achieve." Simone sat down hard in the nearest chair. They want me? They want you. This is a $5 million contract, Simone. The biggest thing this firm has ever done. And they specifically requested that you be the lead designer. I don't know what to say. Say you'll accept. Because this is going to put you on the map. This is career-defining work. I accept. Of course I accept. Patricia laughed. Good. Because I already told them yes. You start Monday. They're flying you to their headquarters in Miami for a week of meetings and site visits. Pack your bags. Simone left the office in a daze. $5 million. 15 hotels. National recognition for her work. This was everything she had dreamed of when she started in interior design. She called Renee immediately. I got it. I got the contract. Renee screamed so loudly that Simone had to hold the phone away from her ear. I knew it. I knew you would. This is incredible. We're celebrating tonight. I can't. I have to pack. I'm leaving for Miami on Monday. Then we're celebrating Sunday. No arguments. You just landed the deal of a lifetime, and we're going to mark the occasion properly. That night, alone in her apartment, Simone let herself feel proud. She had done this. Not Brandon, not anyone else. Her talent, her hard work, her vision. This was proof that she was more than the bitter, lonely woman he had painted her as. She pulled out her suitcase and started packing, already making mental lists of what she needed to accomplish in Miami. This project would consume the next year of her life, maybe longer. It would require travel, late nights, and complete dedication. But as she folded clothes and organized her portfolio, Simone felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Real, tangible hope that her life was moving forward. Sunday's celebration was small but perfect. Renee took her to a rooftop bar with a view of the city skyline. They toasted with expensive cocktails and talked about the future. This is your moment, Renee said, raising her glass. This is where everything changes. I can feel it. It's just a work project, Simone protested, but she was smiling. It's never just a work project. Trust me. Good things are coming. I can always tell. Monday morning, Simone boarded a plane to Miami with her portfolio, her laptop, and a determination to prove herself. The flight attendant offered her champagne, which she accepted. She deserved this. She had earned it. As the plane climbed above the clouds, Simone looked out the window at the shrinking city below. Somewhere down there, Brandon was living his life with Tiffany, probably not thinking about her at all. And for the first time since the divorce, that thought didn't hurt. She had her own life now. A life built on her terms, with her talent at the center. Whatever came next, she would face it as herself, not as Brandon's ex-wife or Tiffany's victim. The week in Miami was intense. Simone met with Montgomery Hotel Group's entire executive team, toured 3 of their flagship properties, and presented detailed plans for each renovation. They asked hard questions. She gave confident answers. On Wednesday, she met the CEO briefly. He was scheduled to visit one of the properties she was touring, and they crossed paths in the lobby. You must be Simone Baker, he said, extending his hand. I've heard excellent things about your work. Thank you, Mr. Montgomery. I'm honored to be working with your company. Call me Julian. And the honor is ours. Your presentation was the best we've seen in years. I'm looking forward to seeing what you create. He was gone before she could respond, swept away by assistants and phone calls. But Simone felt a flutter of pride. The CEO himself knew her name. This was real. This was happening. She flew back to Lagos on Friday evening, exhausted but energized. Her apartment felt smaller than ever, but it no longer felt like a prison. It was just a place to sleep between projects. Renee came over Saturday morning with coffee and pastries. Tell me everything. Simone described the week in detail, from the hotel tours to the executive meetings to the brief encounter with Julian Montgomery. The CEO knows your name, Renee said, impressed. That's huge. It's a big project. Of course he knows the lead designer. Still, you're making waves. I told you good things were coming. As they sat together eating pastries and talking about the future, Simone realized something had shifted inside her. The wedding felt like it had happened years ago, not weeks. Brandon's words had lost their sharp edges. She was moving forward. Not because she was trying to prove him wrong, but because she had finally remembered who she was. A talented designer. A hard worker. A woman who could build her own happiness without needing anyone's approval. The lonely apartment didn't seem so lonely anymore. It was her space. Her sanctuary. The place where she created the designs that were about to change her career. And if that made her pathetic in Brandon's eyes, then she would gladly be pathetic. Because she had something he would never understand. She had herself. And for now that was enough. 2 months into the Montgomery Hotel project, Simone's calendar was packed solid. She had visited 8 of the 15 properties, met with contractors, suppliers, and local design teams in 4 different states. Her apartment had become a staging ground for fabric samples, paint swatches, and architectural plans. Patricia had given her 2 junior designers to assist, but Simone still worked late into most nights, perfecting every detail. The project was consuming, but in the best way. She fell asleep thinking about color palettes and woke up sketching furniture layouts. "You need a break," Renee insisted during one of their weekly phone calls. Simone had been too busy for their usual dinners. "When was the last time you did something that wasn't work-related?" "I like my work." "I know you do. But you're going to burn out if you don't pace yourself. This project is going to take a year, maybe more. You can't sprint the whole way." "I'm fine." "You're not fine. You're hiding in work the same way you used to hide in your marriage. Take a vacation. Even just a long weekend. Please." Simone looked around her apartment at the chaos of her project. Renee was right. She was exhausted. Her back ached from hunching over her laptop, and she couldn't remember the last time she had done something just for herself. "Fine," she conceded. "I'll take a long weekend. But somewhere quiet. No clubs, no parties. Just rest." "Deal. I'll help you book something." 3 days later, Simone found herself on a plane to the Bahamas. Renee had found a small resort on a private island, the kind of place that promised peace and solitude. Simone had packed light, a few sundresses, her swimsuit, and a book she'd been meaning to read for months. The resort was beautiful. White sand beaches, turquoise water, and small cottages scattered among palm trees. Her room had a private deck overlooking the ocean, and the sound of waves immediately began to ease the tension in her shoulders. She spent the first day doing absolutely nothing. She sat on her deck, read her book, napped in the afternoon heat. When evening came, she walked along the beach barefoot, letting the water lap at her ankles. The second day, she ventured to the resort's restaurant for breakfast. The open-air dining area overlooked the ocean, and ceiling fans stirred the tropical air. She ordered fresh fruit and coffee, settling into a table by herself. "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" Simone looked up to find a man standing beside her table, holding a plate of food. He was tall with warm brown skin, dressed casually in linen pants and a simple white shirt. He had kind eyes and a hesitant smile. "All the other tables are full," he explained. "Wedding party checked in this morning. They've taken over the whole restaurant. But if you'd rather eat alone, I understand." Simone glanced around and saw he was right. Large groups filled every other table, all wearing matching shirts that announced Beach Wedding 2024. "It's fine," she said, gesturing to the empty chair. "Please sit." "Thank you. I'm Julian." "Simone." They shook hands across the table, and Simone noticed he had a firm grip and calluses on his palms. Not what she expected from someone staying at such an expensive resort. "First time in the Bahamas?" he asked, cutting into his omelet. "Yes. You?" "I've been a few times. For work mostly. This is my first actual vacation here." They fell into easy conversation. Julian was charming without being pushy, asking about her life without prying. Simone found herself relaxing, enjoying the simple pleasure of talking to someone new. After breakfast, they walked along the beach together. Julian told stories about his work travels, making her laugh with descriptions of business meetings gone wrong and cultural misunderstandings in foreign countries. "What do you do?" Simone asked. "I work in hospitality. Hotels mostly. It's the family business." "That must be interesting. Do you enjoy it?" "Most days. Though it can be lonely, always traveling, never really settling anywhere." Simone understood that feeling more than she wanted to admit. They reached a small beach bar just opening for the day. Julian ordered them fresh coconuts, and they sat on stools with their feet in the sand, sipping sweet coconut water through straws. "Can I ask you something?" Julian said after a moment of comfortable silence. "Sure. You seem sad. Not all the time, but in quiet moments. Like there's something heavy you're carrying around." Simone was surprised by his perceptiveness. "Is it that obvious? Maybe I'm just observant. Or maybe I recognize it because I've been there myself." "Bad breakup. Divorce. 3 years ago. She wanted the lifestyle, not the person. Once she realized that hotels and travel meant work, not glamorous vacations, she lost interest." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. It taught me to value authenticity. Now I'm suspicious of anyone who seems too interested in what I do for a living rather than who I am." "That sounds lonely." It is. But it's better than being with someone who doesn't actually want you. They talked for hours, losing track of time. Julian was easy to talk to, and Simone found herself sharing things she rarely discussed. Not the details of her divorce but the feelings. The loss of identity. The struggle to rebuild. When the sun started to set, they walked back toward the resort together. "Would you like to have dinner with me tonight?" Julian asked. "There's a small restaurant in the main building that's supposed to be excellent." Simone hesitated. This felt like it could become something, and she wasn't sure she was ready for that. "Just dinner," Julian added, reading her expression. "Between two people who are both a little lonely and trying to figure out life. No pressure." "Okay. Just dinner." They met at 7. Simone wore a simple red dress that fell to her knees, nothing fancy but flattering. Julian wore dark slacks and a blue shirt, and he smiled when he saw her. Dinner was relaxed. They talked about travel, books, music. Julian had a dry sense of humor that caught her off guard and made her laugh despite herself. He asked about her work, and she described the Montgomery Hotel project in general terms. "That sounds like a massive undertaking," he said, genuinely interested. "Coordinating that many properties at once. How do you keep everything straight?" "Organization and obsessive attention to detail. Plus about 1,000 spreadsheets. I'd love to see your designs sometime. If you ever want to share them." "Maybe," Simone said, warming to his genuine interest. "If you promise not to judge too harshly." "I promise. Though I doubt there's anything to judge. You clearly know what you're doing." After dinner they walked on the beach again. The moon was full, casting silver light across the water. The air was warm and smelled of salt and flowers. "Can I tell you something?" Julian said as they walked. "Of course. I don't usually do this. Talk to strangers, open up about personal things. But there's something about you that makes it easy." "I feel the same way." "Which is strange because I've been pretty closed off since my divorce." "How long ago was it?" 2 years. Though sometimes it feels like yesterday and sometimes it feels like a lifetime." "Does it get easier?" "Yes and no. The acute pain fades but the changes it makes to who you are, those stick around." Julian stopped walking and turned to face her. "I'm glad I met you, Simone. Even if it's just for these few days. You've reminded me that good people still exist." "I'm glad I met you too." They stood there for a moment, the waves washing over their feet, the moonlight making everything feel dreamlike. Then Julian's phone rang, shattering the moment. He looked at the screen and grimaced. "I'm sorry I have to take this. Work emergency." "Of course. I understand." He answered the call and walked a few steps away, his voice becoming professional and clipped. Simone waited, watching the ocean and thinking about how strange life was. A week ago she had been drowning in work, convinced she would never connect with anyone again. Now here she was, having what felt suspiciously like a date with a kind, interesting man. But she reminded herself of his words. Just dinner. Just a vacation friendship. Nothing more. When Julian finished his call, he looked apologetic. "I'm sorry. That was about a crisis at one of our properties. I need to get on my laptop and handle some things." "It's fine. I should probably head back anyway. I have an early morning tomorrow." They walked back to the resort together in comfortable silence. At the path that led to Simone's cottage, Julian paused. "Would you want to have breakfast tomorrow? Before you leave?" "I'm not leaving until the day after tomorrow." His face brightened. "Even better. Then maybe we could spend the day together? I know a great spot for snorkeling if you're interested." Simone knew she should say no. This was getting complicated, and complicated was the last thing she needed. But looking at Julian's hopeful expression, she found herself nodding. "Snorkeling sounds nice." "Great. I'll meet you at the dock at 9. He squeezed her hand briefly before walking away, and Simone stood watching him go, her heart doing something it hadn't done in a very long time. It was fluttering with possibility, with hope, with the scary and exciting feeling that maybe, just maybe, life was about to get interesting again. She walked back to her cottage with a smile on her face, already dreading and anticipating tomorrow in equal measure. The next day's snorkeling trip was perfect. Julian had rented a small boat, and they spent hours exploring coral reefs and swimming with tropical fish. He was patient when she struggled with her mask, funny when a fish startled him, and respectful of her space while still being attentive. They had lunch at a tiny beachside shack that served the best conch fritters Simone had ever tasted. Julian knew the owner, an elderly woman named Pearl who pinched his cheeks and called him baby boy. "I take it you've been here before," Simone said, laughing at his embarrassed expression. "A few times. Pearl makes the best food on the island." And you let me think this was some spontaneous discovery. I wanted to impress you. Did it work? Maybe. On her last night at the resort, they had dinner again. The conversation had become deeper, more personal. Julian talked about the pressure of running his family business, the expectations he constantly tried to meet. Simone shared more about her divorce, about feeling like she had lost herself in trying to be the perfect wife. You know what I've learned? Julian said as they shared a slice of key lime pie. The people who ask us to change for them are never worth changing for. The right person loves you as you are. That's easier said than done. How do you know if someone loves the real you or just the version you're presenting? You test it. You show them your messy, complicated, sometimes difficult self. And if they stick around, if they still look at you like you're something special, then you know it's real. Have you found that? Not yet. But I'm starting to think maybe I'm getting close. The words hung between them, loaded with meaning. Simone felt her pulse quicken. Julian? I know. You're leaving tomorrow. We're both in complicated places. This was just a vacation thing. Was it? He met her eyes. I don't want it to be. But I also don't want to push you into something you're not ready for. I'm not ready for anything serious, Simone admitted. I'm barely figuring out how to be alone. Adding someone else to the mix feels like too much. I understand. Can I ask one thing though? What? Can we stay in touch? As friends, if nothing else. I'd like to know how your hotel project turns out. And maybe hear about your life sometimes. Simone smiled. I'd like that. They exchanged phone numbers before saying goodnight. Julian walked her back to her cottage one last time, and they stood awkwardly at her door, neither quite ready to say goodbye. This was a good few days, Julian said softly. It really was. Safe travels tomorrow, Simone. And if you ever need anything, even just to talk, call me. Thank you. For everything. He leaned in and kissed her cheek gently, then walked away before she could react. Simone watched him go, her hand touching the spot where his lips had been, wondering what she had just walked away from. Back in Lagos, reality crashed over her like a cold wave. Her apartment was stuffy from being closed up, her inbox was overflowing, and she had 3 project meetings scheduled before noon. But as she unpacked and sorted through work emails, Simone found herself thinking about Julian. The way he listened. The way he laughed. The way he made her feel seen without making her feel exposed. Her phone buzzed with a text. Made it home safe. Already missing those conch fritters. Hope Lagos is treating you well. She smiled and typed back. Home safe. Already drowning in work. Missing the beach. When's your next site visit? Miami in 2 weeks. That's my main office. Let me know when you're in town. I'll take you to lunch. Simone stared at the message. Lunch in Miami. With Julian. That felt significant, like crossing a line from vacation friendship to something more real. She typed and deleted 3 different responses before finally settling on, sounds good. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur. Simone finalized designs for 3 hotels, coordinated with contractors in Atlanta and Boston, and spent countless hours on video calls with the Montgomery executive team. She didn't hear from Julian except for the occasional text. Nothing heavy, just small check-ins. How was her day? Did she see the article about hotel design trends he sent? Was she taking care of herself? Was nice. Easy. The kind of low-pressure connection she hadn't known she needed. When she landed in Miami for her site visits, Julian texted immediately. Welcome to my city. Still on for lunch? Definitely. When works for you? How about today? I can pick you up from your hotel at noon. Simone looked at her schedule. She had meetings until 11, then nothing until 3. That works. I'm staying at the Brickell View. I know it well. See you at noon. At exactly noon, the hotel front desk called her room. Ms. Baker, your lunch appointment is here. Simone grabbed her purse and headed down, her stomach doing nervous flips. This was silly. They were just friends. Just lunch. But when she stepped out of the elevator and saw Julian waiting in the lobby, her heart did a little skip. He wore a tailored gray suit that fit him perfectly, and he smiled when he saw her. You look great, he said, taking in her professional green dress. You too. Very official. I had morning meetings. Didn't have time to change. He led her to a car waiting outside, a nice sedan but not ostentatious. They drove to a small Cuban restaurant in Little Havana, the kind of place locals went, not tourists. Best Cuban food in the city, Julian said as they settled into a booth. I hope you're hungry. They ordered too much food and talked while they waited. Julian asked about her project. and Simone found herself describing the challenges she was facing with one of the Atlanta properties. The existing structure has some quirks that are making the renovation complicated. The building is historic, so we're limited in what we can change. But the client wants a modern feel, which is hard to achieve while maintaining historical integrity. Can I see the designs? Simone pulled out her tablet and showed him. Julian studied the plans carefully, asking intelligent questions about load-bearing walls and traffic flow. This is incredible work, he said finally. You've managed to honor the building's history while completely transforming the feel. That's not easy. Thank you. It's been a challenge, but I'm happy with how it's coming together. Their food arrived and the conversation shifted to lighter topics. Julian told her about growing up in Miami, about learning the hotel business from his grandfather, about the pressure of living up to a family legacy. Do you ever wish you could just walk away? Simone asked. Do something completely different? Sometimes. But then I remember how much I love it when things go right. When a guest has a perfect stay, when a hotel turns around and becomes profitable again. Those moments make all the stress worth it. That's how I feel about design. When a client sees the finished product and their face lights up, that's when I remember why I do this. After lunch, Julian drove her back to her hotel. But instead of dropping her at the entrance, he parked and turned off the car. Can I be honest with you about something? He asked. Of course. I can't stop thinking about you. Since the Bahamas, you've been on my mind constantly. I know you said you weren't ready for anything serious, and I respect that. But I also can't pretend that this is just a friendly lunch for me. Simone's breath caught. Julian, let me finish. I'm not asking you to commit to anything. I'm not trying to rush you into a relationship. I just wanted you to know that when I look at you, I see someone special. Someone I want to get to know better. And if you feel even a fraction of what I feel, I'd like to see where this goes. I do feel something, Simone admitted. But I'm scared. My last relationship destroyed me. I don't know if I can survive that again. I would never ask you to give up who you are. I like who you are. The driven, talented, complicated woman sitting in front of me. That's who I want to spend time with. What if I'm not ready? What if I can't be what you need? Then we go slow. We figure it out as we go. But Simone, I haven't felt this way about anyone in years. I have to at least try. She looked at him, this kind, successful, genuine man who somehow saw past all her walls. And she realized she wanted to try too. Even if it scared her. Even if it might not work out. Okay, she whispered. Let's try. But slow. Really slow. As slow as you need. He reached across and took her hand, and Simone felt something shift inside her. This wasn't like Brandon. This felt different. Safer. Real. Over the next few months they built something steady. Julian flew to Lagos twice to see her. Simone extended her Miami trips by a day or two to spend time with him. They video called almost every night, talking about everything and nothing. He met Renee during one of his visits, and Renee pulled Simone aside afterward with wide eyes. That man is crazy about you. You know that, right? I know. And you're crazy about him even if you won't admit it. Maybe. There's no maybe about it. I've never seen you this happy. Even before Brandon, you weren't this relaxed. Simone couldn't deny it. Being with Julian felt easy in a way nothing ever had before. He supported her career without trying to control it. He respected her need for independence. He made her laugh. But in the back of her mind, a small voice warned her to be careful. To protect herself. To remember that everyone left eventually. She ignored the voice and let herself fall. 6 months into their relationship, Simone and Julian attended a charity gala together in Atlanta. It was a black tie event benefiting children's hospitals, and Julian's company was one of the major sponsors. Simone wore a stunning maroon gown that hugged her curves, and Julian couldn't take his eyes off her all evening. They danced, mingled with other guests, and enjoyed themselves thoroughly. Neither of them noticed the photographer in the corner, taking pictures for the society pages. The photos hit social media the next morning. Montgomery Hotel CO Julian Montgomery and Mystery Woman at Children's Hospital Gala. The pictures showed them dancing, laughing, clearly comfortable with each other. Simone's phone started ringing at 7 in the morning. Unknown numbers mostly, which she ignored. But then Renee called. Have you seen the pictures? Renee asked without preamble. What pictures? Check Instagram. You and Julian are all over the society pages. Simone opened her laptop and searched. There they were, dozens of photos from the gala. She looked happy. Radiant even. And Julian was looking at her like she was the only person in the room. Oh no, she whispered. Oh no? You look gorgeous. You look happy. What's the problem? Brandon's going to see these. So what if he does? You've moved on. You're dating someone amazing. Let him see. But Simone felt sick. She had been so careful to keep her life private, to avoid giving Brandon any ammunition. And now her relationship was plastered across social media for everyone to see. She was right to worry. By noon, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Simone, it's Brandon. I saw the pictures from last night. Can we talk? She blocked the number immediately. But 5 minutes later, another text came from a different number. Simone, please. I just want to talk to you. As friends. She blocked that one too. But the calls and texts kept coming, each from a new number. Brandon was relentless. Finally, she called Renee. He won't stop contacting me. Change your number. I can't. It's on all my business cards, all my client files. I'd lose work. Then answer him once. Tell him to leave you alone. Then block him again. Against her better judgment, Simone answered the next call. What do you want, Brandon? I just wanted to congratulate you. I saw you're dating Julian Montgomery, the hotel guy. That's quite a step up. I'm not discussing my personal life with you. Fair enough. I just think it's interesting. 2 years of being alone and suddenly you're with a billionaire. Makes a person wonder. Wonder what? If maybe you're not as over me as you claimed. If maybe you needed to find someone richer, more successful, just to prove something. Simone laughed bitterly. You're unbelievable. I'm happy, Brandon. That's not about you or proving anything to you. It's about me finally finding someone who treats me well. Does he know you're damaged goods? Does he know about all your issues? Goodbye, Brandon. She hung up and immediately blocked that number too. But his words stuck with her, playing on repeat in her mind. Damaged goods. Issues. When Julian called that evening for their regular video chat, Simone almost didn't answer. But she forced herself to pick up. Hey beautiful, he said, his face filling her screen. How was your day? Complicated. Did you see the pictures from the gala? I did. We look good together, don't you think? Brandon saw them too. He's been calling me all day. Julian's expression darkened. What did he say? Nothing important. Just being Brandon. Simone talked to me. What did he say? She told him, hating how small she felt admitting Brandon's words. When she finished, Julian was quiet for a long moment. You know none of that is true, right? He said finally. You're not damaged. You're not with me to prove anything. You're with me because we make each other happy. I know that logically. But hearing it from him, it brought back all those old feelings. Like maybe I'm not good enough. Like maybe I'm fooling myself. Come to Miami this weekend. Let me show you how I see you. Let me remind you what's real. Simone flew to Miami on Friday night. Julian picked her up from the airport personally, wrapped her in a hug that made her feel safe, and drove her to his house. She had never been to his home before. They always met at restaurants or hotels, keeping things neutral. But his house was beautiful, modern and sleek but still warm, filled with books and art. I want you to feel comfortable here, he said as he showed her around. This is my private space and I'm sharing it with you because you matter to me. They spent the weekend cooking together, watching movies, talking late into the night. Julian was patient with her doubts, addressing each one calmly. Your ex-husband is a small, insecure man, he said on Saturday night as they sat on his balcony overlooking the city. He sees you happy and it kills him because he knows he lost something valuable. But that's not your problem anymore. You don't owe him anything. I just hate that he still has this power over me. That his words can still hurt. That's natural. He was a significant part of your life. But Simone, you're so much stronger than you think. Look at what you've built. Your career is taking off. You're respected in your field. You're kind, talented, beautiful. Don't let him take that from you. She leaned against his shoulder, feeling some of the tension leave her body. Thank you. For what? For seeing me. The real me, not the one Brandon tried to make me believe I was. That's easy. The real you is pretty spectacular. They kissed, slow and sweet, and Simone felt herself relaxing into the moment. This was real. This mattered. Brandon's opinion didn't. But back in Lagos on Monday, reality hit again. She received an email from a former mutual friend of hers and Brandon's. Simone, I thought you should know that Brandon has been telling people you're using Julian for his money. He's spreading rumors that you're a gold digger. Just wanted to give you a heads up. Simone felt her anger rising. Brandon couldn't stand that she had moved on. He had to find a way to make her happiness about him. She called Julian furious. He's telling people I'm with you for money? Let him talk. People who know you won't believe it. But what about people who don't know me? What about your business contacts who see those pictures and think I'm some opportunist? Simone breathed. Anyone who matters will see the truth. And anyone who doesn't isn't worth worrying about. This is affecting you too. Your reputation. My reputation is fine. And even if it wasn't, you'd be worth it. His certainty calmed her. But she still felt Brandon's presence like a shadow over everything good in her life. Meanwhile, Tiffany was having her own problems. She had seen the pictures too, and for the first time since the wedding, she was seeing Simone not as a pathetic ex-wife but as competition. Brandon's obsession with Simone's new relationship was obvious. He checked her social media constantly, asked mutual friends about her, brought her up in conversations where she didn't belong. Why do you care so much? Tiffany demanded one night after Brandon spent an hour on the phone with a friend, fishing for information about Julian. I don't care. I'm just curious. You're obsessed. You talk about her more than you talk about me. That's not true. It is true. Every time someone mentions her, you light up. You want to know everything. What she's doing, who she's seeing, if she's happy. I just think it's suspicious how quickly she moved on. With a billionaire, no less. She moved on 2 years after you left her. That's not exactly quick. And maybe she's with him because he treats her better than you did. Brandon's face reddened. I treated her fine. You cheated on her. You humiliated her at our wedding. You've been calling her nonstop since those pictures came out. Face it, Brandon. You can't stand that she's happy without you. The fight escalated from there, ending with Tiffany sleeping in the guest room and Brandon stewing in his resentment. The truth was becoming clear to everyone except Brandon himself. He had thought leaving Simone would make him happy. He had thought Tiffany was what he wanted. But seeing Simone thriving, seeing her with someone who clearly cherished her, made him realize what he had thrown away. And that realization was eating him alive. Spring brought new changes to Simone's life. The Montgomery Hotel project was progressing beautifully. 5 of the 15 properties had been completed, and the reviews were glowing. Design magazines were reaching out for interviews. Industry peers were calling to congratulate her. And through it all, Julian was her steady support. He attended her project unveilings when he could, celebrated her wins, listened to her frustrations when things went wrong. I'm so proud of you, he said after the Miami property's grand reopening. The hotel looked stunning, all clean lines and warm woods, modern but inviting. Guests were already raving about the new design. I couldn't have done it without your team's support, Simone replied. They were standing in the newly redesigned lobby watching guests check in. My team helped with logistics. But the vision was all you. Own that, Simone. You're brilliant at what you do. She smiled, leaning into him slightly. They had been dating for 8 months now and it had stopped feeling scary. Julian had become her best friend, her confidant, her partner in the truest sense. Come meet my grandmother, Julian said suddenly. What? My grandmother. She's in town this week, staying at the penthouse suite. I want her to meet you. Simone felt a flutter of nerves. That's a big step. I know. But she's important to me and you're important to me. I'd like my 2 favorite women to know each other. They took the elevator to the penthouse. Julian's grandmother, Eleanor Montgomery, was a petite woman in her 80s with sharp eyes and an elegant bearing. She wore a beautiful blue dress and pearls, looking every inch the Hotel Dynasty matriarch. So you're the young woman who's captured my grandson's attention, Eleanor said, studying Simone carefully. It's lovely to meet you, Mrs. Montgomery. Call me Eleanor. And sit down, child. Let me look at you properly. Simone sat, trying not to fidget under Eleanor's scrutiny. Julian had warned her his grandmother was formidable, but nothing quite prepared her for the reality. Julian tells me you're an interior designer. Working on our hotels. Yes, ma'am. I've been fortunate to lead the renovation project. Fortunate nothing. My grandson doesn't hire people out of charity. You must be talented. Show me your work. Simone pulled out her tablet and walked Eleanor through the completed projects. The old woman asked pointed questions, clearly knowledgeable about design and architecture. You have a good eye, Eleanor said finally. Clean lines, practical luxury. That's harder to achieve than most people think. Too many designers these days focus on flash over function. Thank you. I believe a space should be beautiful but also livable. Eleanor smiled, the first warm expression she had shown. I like this one, Julian. She has sense. They spent the afternoon with Eleanor, listening to her stories about building the Montgomery Hotel empire with her late husband. She was sharp, funny, and surprisingly modern in her views. Don't let him rush you into anything, Eleanor told Simone privately while Julian took a phone call. My grandson is smitten, but that doesn't mean you should lose yourself. Keep your career, keep your independence. The best marriages are between equals. Were you equal with your husband? We became equals. When I married him, I was just a secretary at his first hotel. But I learned the business, worked my way up. By the time we retired, we were true partners. That's what I want for Julian. Someone who can stand beside him, not behind him. The approval from Eleanor felt significant. Julian was clearly close to his grandmother, and her blessing seemed to matter to him deeply. As they drove Simone home that evening, Julian was practically glowing. She loved you, he said. I could tell. She's incredible. So sharp and strong. She built half this company. My grandfather had the vision, but she had the business sense to make it sustainable. I've always wanted to find someone like her. Someone with fire and intelligence and drive. No pressure, Simone joked. I'm serious. You remind me of her. The way you fight for your vision, the way you don't back down when people challenge you. That's what I fell for. They had reached Simone's apartment. Julian walked her to the door as he always did. Can I tell you something? He said, taking both her hands in his. Of course. I'm falling in love with you. Actually, I think I've already fallen. I just wanted you to know. Simone's breath caught. Julian? You don't have to say it back. I just needed you to know how I feel. You're the best thing that's happened to me in years, and I'm not going to hide that. He kissed her gently and walked away, leaving Simone standing in her doorway with her heart racing. Inside, she leaned against the closed door, trying to process what had just happened. Julian loved her. This successful, kind, wonderful man loved her. And the terrifying thing was she loved him too. She called Renee immediately. He said he loves me. And I think I love him back. Then tell him, you coward. What if it doesn't work out? What if I'm wrong about him? What if he leaves like Brandon did? Simone, listen to me. Julian is not Brandon. He has shown you nothing but respect and support for 8 months. He introduced you to his grandmother, for God's sake. That man is in this for real. But what if? Stop. You can't live your life in what ifs. Brandon broke your trust, but you can't punish Julian for that. Either you believe in this relationship or you don't. But if you do, you have to actually participate in it. Simone knew Renee was right. She had been holding back, keeping part of herself protected, just in case. But Julian deserved better than half measures. The next day, she showed up at Julian's office unannounced. His assistant tried to stop her, but Simone pushed past into his office. Julian looked up from his desk, surprise and pleasure crossing his face. Simone. What are you? I love you too, she blurted out. I've been too scared to say it, too worried about getting hurt again. But you're not him. You've never been him. And I'm tired of punishing you for someone else's mistakes. Julian stood and crossed to her, pulling her into his arms. Say it again. I love you, Julian Montgomery. I'm terrified and probably going to be difficult sometimes, but I love you. He kissed her, deep and thorough, and Simone felt the last of her walls crumble. This was real. This was happening. And maybe, just maybe, it was going to be okay. Over the next few months, their relationship deepened. Simone spent more time at Julian's house. He gave her a key, cleared out a closet for her clothes. She introduced him to more of her friends, integrated him into her life. They traveled together when work allowed, exploring new cities and trying new restaurants. Julian supported her career without trying to control it, attending her presentations and celebrating her victories. For the first time since her divorce, Simone felt whole. Not because Julian completed her, but because he gave her space to be completely herself. But happiness, she was about to learn, often comes with complications. The confrontation came on a Tuesday afternoon in late summer. Simone was at her office, reviewing designs for the Chicago property, when her receptionist buzzed her. There's a Brandon Hayes here to see you. He doesn't have an appointment. Simone's stomach dropped. Tell him I'm not available. I tried. He's insisting. He says it's important. Tell him to leave or I'll call security. But before the receptionist could respond, Brandon pushed through the door into Simone's office. Simone, please. I just need 5 minutes. He looked different. Thinner, with dark circles under his eyes. His clothes were nice but rumpled, like he hadn't been sleeping well. You need to leave, Simone said coldly. Now. Just 5 minutes, please. I've been trying to reach you for months. And I've been blocking you for months. That should tell you something. I know I hurt you. I know I don't deserve your time. But please just hear me out. Simone considered calling security, but curiosity won. What could Brandon possibly have to say after all this time? 5 minutes, she said. Then you leave and never contact me again. Brandon sat down without being invited. I made a mistake. Leaving you was the biggest mistake of my life. Simone laughed, a harsh sound. You're just now figuring that out? It's been over 3 years. I know. I thought Tiffany was what I wanted. I thought a fresh start would make me happy. But it didn't. She's not you, Simone. No one is you. Is this supposed to make me feel sorry for you? No. I just want you to know that I realize now what I threw away. You were the best thing in my life and I destroyed it because I was selfish and stupid. And you're telling me this why? What do you want from me, Brandon? I want another chance. I want to show you that I can be better. That I've changed. Simone stared at him, genuinely shocked. You cannot be serious. I'm serious. We were good together once. We could be again. Brandon, I'm with someone else. Someone who treats me with respect and kindness. Someone who would never do what you did. Julian Montgomery. The billionaire. How convenient. It has nothing to do with his money. It has everything to do with the fact that he's a good man. A good man, Brandon repeated bitterly. Is that what you tell yourself? That you just happened to fall for someone who could give you everything I couldn't? He gives me what you never could. Trust. Support. Actual love, not the conditional kind where I had to change myself to be acceptable. Brandon stood, his face reddening. I loved you. I made one mistake. One mistake. Simone rose too, her voice rising. You had an affair for a year. You lied to me every single day. You took her to our favorite restaurant. You introduced her to our friends as your colleague while you were still wearing your wedding ring. That wasn't one mistake. That was a series of deliberate choices. I'm sorry. I've said I'm sorry. Your apology means nothing to me. You don't get to decide you want me back now that you see I'm happy. You don't get to waltz in here and disrupt my life because your new marriage isn't working out. How did you know about that? I didn't, but I do now. Is that what this is about? Things are rough with Tiffany, so you want your backup plan? Brandon's silence was answer enough. Get out, Simone said. Get out of my office and out of my life. I don't want you back. I wouldn't take you back if you were the last person on earth. What we had is dead and you killed it. Simone, please? No. You had your 5 minutes. Now leave before I have security remove you. Brandon stood there looking lost. I really did love you. I hope you know that. I know you loved the version of me that made you feel important. But you never loved the real me. Because the real me wanted more than you could give. He left finally, shoulders slumped. Simone sat back down, her hands shaking. The confrontation had drained her, bringing up feelings she thought she had buried. Her phone rang. Renee. Brandon just called me, Renee said without preamble. He's looking for you. Please tell me you didn't meet with him. He showed up at my office. What did he want? Me. Apparently, his marriage is falling apart and he decided I was the solution. You told him no, right? Of course I told him no. I'm with Julian. I'm happy. Why would I go back to someone who treated me like garbage? Because he knows how to get in your head. Please tell me you're okay. I'm fine. Angry but fine. Simone hung up and tried to return to work, but she couldn't focus. Brandon's words kept echoing in her mind. Was she with Julian just to prove something? Was her happiness real or was it a reaction to being hurt? She knew the answers. She loved Julian. Their relationship was built on mutual respect and genuine affection. But doubt, once planted, grew like weeds. That evening her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Simone? It's Tiffany. How did you get this number? Please don't hang up. I need to talk to you. We have nothing to talk about. It's about Brandon. He's obsessed with you. He saw those pictures of you with Julian, and he hasn't been the same since. He talks about you constantly. He calls you when he thinks I'm asleep. He's convinced himself that he made a mistake leaving you. That's your problem, not mine. I know. I know I don't have any right to ask you for anything. But please, can you just tell me how to compete? How to make him look at me the way he looks at pictures of you? Simone felt a flash of pity, quickly followed by irritation. Tiffany, you can't make someone love you. If Brandon is still hung up on me, that's his issue to work through. Not mine, and honestly not really yours either. But you know him. You were married to him for 10 years. There must be something I can do. You want my honest advice? Leave him. He's never going to be satisfied with you because he's not satisfied with himself. He thought I was holding him back so he found you. Now he thinks you're holding him back so he wants me. That's who he is. A man who's always looking for the next thing instead of appreciating what he has. I can't leave him. I love him. Then that's your choice. But don't call me looking for tips on how to win him. I got out. That's the smartest thing I've ever done. You should do the same. Simone hung up, feeling drained. She wanted to be done with Brandon and Tiffany. She wanted them out of her life completely. Julian called an hour later for their evening chat. Simone told him everything. I'm sorry you had to deal with that, he said. Do you want me to come up there? I can be on a plane in an hour. No, I'm okay. Just tired of dealing with my past. He can't hurt you anymore unless you let him. You know that, right? I know. But it's still exhausting. Then let me take care of you this weekend. Come to Miami. We'll stay in, order food, watch movies. No pressure, no stress. That sounds perfect. After they hung up, Simone felt better. Julian was her future. Brandon was her past. She needed to stop letting the past contaminate her present. The next morning, Simone made a decision. She blocked every number Brandon and Tiffany could possibly use to reach her. She blocked them on social media, email, everything. She called her office and left explicit instructions that neither of them was to be allowed past reception under any circumstances. Then she called Renee. I'm done, she told her friend. I'm completely cutting them out. No more conversations, no more second chances. They're out of my life. Good. You should have done this months ago. I know. I kept thinking if I was just civil, just polite, they'd eventually leave me alone. But they won't. So I'm making it impossible for them to reach me. What about Julian? Have you told him how serious you are about him? I think he knows. But maybe I need to show him more clearly. That weekend in Miami, Simone did exactly that. She brought a suitcase with more clothes than usual. She cleared space in Julian's bathroom for her toiletries. She started talking about future plans with confidence instead of hedging. What are you doing for Thanksgiving? She asked over breakfast Saturday morning. Usually I visit my grandmother. Why? I was thinking maybe I could come with you. If that's okay. Julian's face lit up. Really? You want to spend holidays with my family? I do. If you want me there. I absolutely want you there. Grandmother will be thrilled. They spent the day being lazy, cooking together, laughing over nothing. It felt domestic in the best way. Comfortable. Right. That evening, curled up on Julian's couch watching a movie, Simone felt a sense of peace she hadn't experienced in years. I'm happy, she said suddenly. Right now, in this moment. I'm genuinely happy. Julian kissed the top of her head. Good. You deserve to be happy. So do you. I am. You make me happy in ways I didn't know I could be. They sat in comfortable silence, the movie playing unwatched. Julian? Oh. Thank you for being patient with me. For not pushing. For letting me figure things out at my own pace. Thank you for letting me in. I know it wasn't easy after what you went through. It was the best decision I've ever made. Monday morning brought a surprise. Simone's office receptionist called her cell phone. There's a delivery for you. It's huge. Multiple flower arrangements. From who? The cards all say the same thing. I'm sorry. Please give me another chance. Brandon. Simone felt her good mood evaporate. Throw them all away. All of them? There are 12 arrangements here. All of them. And if he sends anything else, throw that away too. I don't want anything from him. An hour later, her work email pinged with a message from Brandon's email address. Simone, I know you're angry. But we were good together once. We could be again. Please just talk to me. I'm not giving up on us. She deleted it without responding and added his email to her spam filter. This continued for a week. Flowers at her office. Emails from new addresses. Even a handwritten letter delivered by courier. Simone threw everything away unread and unopened. She refused to engage. Julian noticed her stress. Is he still bothering you? He's sending things. But I'm not accepting them or responding. He'll get tired eventually. Do you need me to handle it? I can have my lawyers send a cease and desist. Not yet. I don't want to escalate. I just want to ignore him until he gets the message. But Brandon wasn't getting the message. If anything, her silence made him more determined. The breaking point came when he showed up at one of her project sites in Boston. Simone was doing a walkthrough with contractors when she saw him talking to her assistant. What are you doing here? She demanded, striding over. I came to see you. To see your work. This is impressive, Simone. You've really grown as a designer. You need to leave. Now. Can't we just talk? Like adults? I am being an adult. I'm setting boundaries. You violated them. Leave. I flew all the way here. Just give me 5 minutes. No. You don't get 5 minutes or 5 seconds. Leave or I call the police. Brandon's face hardened. You're really choosing him over me? A man you've known less than a year over 10 years of history? I'm choosing myself. That's what you can't understand. This isn't about Julian. It's about me finally realizing I deserve better than what you gave me. I can give you better. I've changed. I don't care. I don't want you. Not your improved version, not any version. I want you out of my life permanently. She walked away, leaving him standing there. Her hands were shaking, but she felt strong. Clear. She had meant every word. That night she called Julian. I need you to send that cease and desist letter. Brandon is out of control. I'll have it drafted tonight and sent first thing tomorrow morning. Thank you. Simone, are you sure you're okay? This is bordering on harassment. I'm okay. I'm actually better than okay. For the first time, I'm really standing up for myself. Setting real boundaries. I should have done this years ago. The cease and desist letter worked. After receiving it, Brandon finally stopped. No more flowers, no more emails, no more surprise visits. Simone felt like she could breathe again. Tiffany called one last time from yet another new number. Simone, please. He's making both our lives miserable. Can't you just talk to him? Give him closure? I've given him all the closure he deserves. I told him no. Multiple times. What else do you want from me? I just want my husband back. The man I married. Then you need to accept that the man you married is deeply flawed. He's chasing an idealized past that never really existed. That's not my problem to fix. It's his. And honestly, it's yours too if you choose to stay with him. You're heartless. No. I'm healed. There's a difference. Good luck, Tiffany. She hung up and blocked that number too. A few days later, Renee called with news. So I heard through the grapevine that Brandon and Tiffany are separating. Good for them. You don't care? Not even a little bit. They made their choices. They get to live with the consequences. Wow. You really are over him. Completely. Totally. 100% over him. And it was true. Simone felt nothing when she thought about Brandon now. No anger, no hurt, no satisfaction at his troubles. Just indifference. She had chosen herself. And in doing so, she had found real happiness. Fall arrived with cooler temperatures and changing leaves. Simone's project was nearing completion. 13 of the 15 hotels had been finished, and the remaining 2 were in final stages. Industry awards nominations started rolling in. Simone's work was being recognized nationally, with invitations to speak at conferences and write for prestigious design magazines. You're going to win, Julian said confidently when she showed him the nomination list. Your work is exceptional. There's a lot of competition. None of them are you. They were spending more time together now. Simone had basically moved into Julian's house, though she kept her apartment for appearances and storage. Her toothbrush was in his bathroom, her clothes in his closet, her books on his shelves. It felt natural. Easy. Right. Eleanor visited again in October, staying for a week. She and Simone had developed a genuine friendship, texting regularly and talking on the phone about business and life. When are you going to make an honest woman of her? Eleanor asked Julian bluntly over dinner one night. Julian nearly choked on his wine. Grandmother. What? I'm 83. I don't have time for subtlety. You love her. She loves you. What are you waiting for? Simone blushed. Eleanor, it's only been a year. Time is irrelevant when you know. I knew your grandfather was the one after 3 months. We were married 6 months later and stayed together for 58 years. That's different. Times were different. Nonsense. Love is love no matter the era. If you want to wait, that's fine. But don't wait because you're scared. Fear is a terrible reason to delay happiness. After Eleanor left, Julian brought it up. She's not wrong, you know. About what? About us. I do want to marry you. Eventually. When you're ready. Simone's heart raced. Julian? I'm not proposing right now. I just want you to know that's where I see this going. You're it for me, Simone. Endgame. You're it for me too, she admitted. But marriage scares me. After Brandon? I know. And I'm not going to rush you. We'll get there when we get there. But the seed had been planted. Simone found herself thinking about marriage more often. What it would mean to marry Julian. How it would be different from Brandon. In November, the industry awards were announced. Simone won Designer of the Year. The awards ceremony was a black tie gala in New York. Simone wore a stunning green gown and Julian wore a classic tux. They walked the red carpet together, photographers shouting for their attention. When Simone's name was called as the winner, Julian stood and applauded louder than anyone. She walked to the stage in a daze, accepted the Crystal Award, and gave a speech thanking her team and clients. "And thank you to Julian Montgomery," she said, finding him in the crowd, "for supporting my vision and trusting me with his family's legacy." The after-party was full of congratulations and networking. Simone met designers she had admired for years, received job offers from major firms, and basked in the recognition she had worked so hard for. "You're incredible," Julian whispered in her ear during a quiet moment. "Watching you accept that award, I've never been more proud of anyone in my life. It feels surreal." "It's real. You earned it. Own it." The next morning they flew back to Miami. Simone was exhausted but happy, her award packed carefully in her carry-on. "I have a surprise for you," Julian said as they drove from the airport. "Well, a question really?" "A question?" He pulled into the parking lot of the first hotel Simone had redesigned for Montgomery Hotels. The Miami Beach property that had started everything. "Why are we here? Come with me." He led her inside to the restaurant, which was closed to regular diners but set up for a private dinner. Candles flickered on a single table set for two, overlooking the ocean. "Julian, what is this?" "Sit. Please." They sat, and servers appeared with champagne and appetizers. The food was exquisite, the view breathtaking. But Simone could barely focus on any of it. Julian seemed nervous, which was unusual for him. After the main course, he stood and came around to her side of the table. "Simone Baker, I've been thinking about how to do this for months. Grandmother told me to keep it simple. Renee told me to make it grand. I decided to do what felt right for us." He pulled a small box from his pocket and knelt down. Simone's breath caught. "You came into my life when I had given up on finding real partnership. You showed me what it means to be with someone who challenges me, supports me, and loves me for who I actually am. You're brilliant, kind, strong, and beautiful. You're everything I never knew I needed." "Julian, let me finish. This hotel is where we really started working together. Where I first saw your vision come to life. It feels right to do this here, in the place where our partnership began. Simone, will you marry me? Will you be my partner in everything? Will you let me spend the rest of my life making you as happy as you make me?" He opened the box to reveal a stunning ring. Not ostentatious but perfect. A simple band with a beautiful diamond that caught the candlelight. Simone realized she was crying. Happy tears falling freely. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I'll marry you." Julian slipped the ring on her finger and stood, pulling her into a kiss. The restaurant staff applauded, appearing from the kitchen where they had been watching. "You planned this whole thing," Simone said, laughing through her tears. "I wanted it to be special. You deserve special." They stayed at the hotel that night in the penthouse suite. Simone kept looking at her ring, unable to believe this was real. "Are you happy?" Julian asked as they lay in bed, the ocean visible through the floor-to-ceiling windows. "Happier than I ever thought possible. Thank you for being patient with me. For waiting until I was ready. Thank you for saying yes. For trusting me with your heart." They talked late into the night, making plans. They agreed on a small wedding, maybe in the spring. Just close family and friends. Nothing like the spectacle Brandon and Tiffany had put on. "I don't need a big show," Simone said. "I just need you. And I just need you. Everything else is details." In the morning they called Eleanor, who claimed she had known all along this was coming. "About time," she said, but Simone could hear the smile in her voice. "Welcome to the family, dear. Officially." Renee screamed when Simone told her, then insisted on flying to Miami immediately to celebrate properly. "I knew it," Renee said when she arrived. "I knew from the Bahamas that you two were endgame. I didn't know. I was too scared to see it. But you're not scared anymore." "No, I'm not scared. I'm ready for this. For him. For us." As they toasted with champagne on Julian's balcony, Simone reflected on how far she had come. From the broken woman at Brandon's wedding to this confident, successful, engaged woman. The journey had been hard, but worth every difficult step. She had chosen herself first. And in doing so, she had found someone who chose her too. Not as a prize or a possession but as a partner. An equal. A teammate in building a life together. The ring on her finger caught the sunlight, sparkling. Simone smiled. This was her happy ending. No, not an ending. A beginning. Planning the wedding was surprisingly easy. Simone and Julian agreed on almost everything, largely because they both wanted the same thing. Something meaningful, not showy. They chose a small garden venue in Miami for a spring ceremony. 50 guests, close family, true friends, and a few important colleagues. Eleanor helped Simone find the perfect dress, a simple but elegant design in ivory that made her feel beautiful without being overdone. "This is you," Eleanor said when Simone tried it on. "Classic. Timeless. Perfect." René was Simone's maid of honor. Julian's brother, who Simone had grown close to over the past months, was his best man. The invitations went out in January. Small, elegant cards with simple wording. "Simone Baker and Julian Montgomery request the pleasure of your company." No one from Simone's past received an invitation. Not Brandon, not Tiffany, not the mutual friends who had sided with them. This wedding was about her future, not her past. But the past had a way of making itself known. 2 weeks before the wedding, Simone was having a final dress fitting when her phone rang. A known number. She almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. "Hello. Simone, it's Tiffany. Please don't hang up." Simone sighed. "How did you get this number?" "I just wanted to say congratulations. I saw the announcement in the paper. I'm happy for you." "Thank you. Is that all?" "I also wanted to apologize. For everything. For the affair, for the wedding, for calling you when Brandon was harassing you. I handled all of it badly. Tiffany, I appreciate the apology. But I've moved on. I don't need this conversation." "I know. I just wanted you to know that you were right. About everything. Brandon and I are divorced now. Turns out you can't build a marriage on lies and betrayal. I'm sorry it didn't work out. But I did try to warn you." "You did. I should have listened." "He never stopped comparing me to you. Never stopped talking about what a mistake he made. It was exhausting. That must have been hard." "It was. But it taught me something. I deserve better too. We both do. I just wanted to say that I understand now why you left. Why you refused to take him back. You were stronger than I was. You found your strength eventually. That's what matters." There was a long pause. "Will you be happy with Julian? Is he good to you?" "He's wonderful. We're building something real together. Based on honesty and respect." "Good. You deserve that. You always did." After they hung up, Simone felt a strange sense of closure. Tiffany's apology didn't change the past, but it acknowledged the truth. They had both been hurt by Brandon. They had both survived. A few days later, a package arrived at Simone's office. Inside was a handwritten letter from Brandon. She almost threw it away unread. But something made her open it. "Simone, I heard about your engagement. I'm not going to lie and say I'm happy about it. Part of me is jealous, wishing things had been different between us. But mostly I'm sorry. I'm sorry for how I treated you. For the affair, for the mockery, for not appreciating what I had until it was gone. You were the best thing in my life and I destroyed it because I was selfish and immature. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that I understand now what I lost. I hope Julian treats you the way you deserve to be treated all along. I hope you're happy. I hope you forget I ever existed and build an amazing life. You earned it. Signed, Brandon." Simone read it twice, then carefully folded it and put it away. She didn't need his apology. But it was nice to hear him finally acknowledge the truth. She didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. The final weeks before the wedding flew by. Simone completed her last Montgomery hotel project to rave reviews. She officially moved all her belongings into Julian's house. She merged her life with his in 1,000 small ways. The night before the wedding, Eleanor hosted a small dinner for immediate family. She raised a toast to Simone and Julian. "To my grandson and his bride. May your marriage be as strong and loving as mine was. May you face every challenge as partners. May you remember that love is a choice you make every single day, not just once at an altar." "Hear, hear," everyone echoed, clinking glasses. Later, as tradition dictated, Simone and Julian spent the night apart. René stayed with Simone at a hotel suite, helping her relax and prepare. "Nervous?" René asked as they did face masks and drank champagne. "Not even a little bit." "Is that weird?" "No. It's perfect. It means you're sure." "I'm sure. Julian is my person. This is my life. Everything that happened before led me here." "Even Brandon?" "Especially Brandon. If that hadn't fallen apart, I would never have found this. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you leads to the best thing." The wedding day dawned bright and clear. Simone woke feeling peaceful and excited. This was it. The beginning of her new chapter. Getting ready was fun, surrounded by René and Julian's sister and Eleanor. They laughed and took pictures and helped Simone into her dress. When she looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. Not because she looked different, but because she looked happy. Genuinely, radiantly happy. The ceremony took place in a garden filled with spring flowers. White chairs lined an aisle that led to an arbor covered in roses. The ocean was visible in the distance, waves crashing rhythmically. Julian stood at the altar in a perfectly tailored suit, his eyes locked on the entrance where Simone would appear. His expression when he saw her made her heart soar. Wonder, love, joy, all written clearly on his face. Simone's father walked her down the aisle. She had worried this would remind her of her first wedding, but it felt completely different. That had been about show. This was about truth. They exchanged vows they had written themselves. Simple promises about partnership and support and choosing each other every day. No elaborate declarations or flowery language. Just honest commitments. When the officiant pronounced them married, Julian kissed her softly. The small crowd applauded. Eleanor dabbed at tears with a handkerchief. The reception was held in an elegant tent next to the garden. Good food, better wine, and the best company. Simone and Julian danced their first dance to a song they both loved, swaying together as the sun set over the ocean. "This is perfect," Simone whispered against Julian's shoulder. "You're perfect," he replied. "Mrs. Montgomery." She laughed. "I'm keeping my name professionally, you know." "I know. And I love that about you. You're not trying to erase who you were. You're building on it." They cut the cake, made toasts, and celebrated with the people who mattered most. No drama, no spectacle. Just love and happiness and genuine celebration. That night, in the honeymoon suite, Simone and Julian looked at the photos on social media that their guests had posted. They looked happy. And loved. Real. "Do you think he'll see these?" Simone asked, meaning Brandon. "Probably. Do you care?" "Not really. If he does, I hope he sees that I'm happy. Not to make him jealous or to prove him wrong. Just because it's true." "You're happy?" Deliriously. "You." More than I ever imagined possible. They spent their honeymoon in Italy, 2 weeks of art and food and wandering through ancient cities. They talked about the future. Where they wanted to live. What projects Simone wanted to take on next. Whether they wanted children someday. "No rush on any of it," Julian said as they sat at a cafe in Rome watching people pass by. "We have time to figure it all out." "I like that. I like that we're in no hurry. We spend enough time rushing. Trying to prove things. Now we can just be." When they returned to Miami, life settled into a comfortable rhythm. Simone set up a home office in Julian's house, establishing her own design firm. Clients sought her out specifically, willing to wait months for her availability. Julian continued running Montgomery hotels, with Simone occasionally consulting on design projects. They traveled for work and pleasure. They hosted dinners for friends. They built a life. 6 months after the wedding, Simone received a message from an old mutual friend from her marriage to Brandon. "Just wanted to let you know that Brandon is engaged again. Thought you should hear it from a friend rather than seeing it online." Simone read the message and felt nothing. No jealousy, no satisfaction, no curiosity about who the new woman was. She showed it to Julian. "Brandon's engaged. How do you feel about that?" "I don't. It's just information. Like hearing about a stranger. That's growth." "It really is." She never responded to the message. That chapter was closed. Instead, she focused on her present and future. On the design project she was passionate about. On the home she was building with Julian. On the friendship she was nurturing. A year after the wedding, Simone and Julian renewed their lease on life, literally buying a house together. They wanted something they chose together, not Julian's bachelor pad. The house hunting was fun. They looked at dozens of properties before finding the perfect one. Modern but warm, with space for both of them to work, a garden for Simone to experiment with landscape design, and plenty of room for the future they were building. Moving in felt like another beginning. Another step forward. One evening, as they sat on their new patio watching the sunset, Julian took Simone's hand. "Do you remember what you said the night I proposed? About not needing a big show?" "I do. You said you just needed me. Well, I just need you too. Everything else we've built, the house, the careers, all of it is wonderful. But at the end of the day, you're what matters. You're my home." Simone leaned against him, feeling utterly content. "You're my home too. You gave me space to find myself again. To remember who I was before Brandon made me forget. That's the greatest gift anyone has ever given me. You did that yourself. I just supported you along the way. We support each other. That's what makes this work." They sat in comfortable silence, the last rays of sun painting the sky in shades of pink and orange. Somewhere in another life, Simone had been broken and lost and convinced she would never be whole again. But she had survived. She had grown. She had found not just love, but herself. And that was the real happy ending. Not the ring or the husband or the success, but the knowledge that she was enough, all on her own. Everything else was just a beautiful bonus. The story could have ended with revenge. With Simone showing up Brandon, proving him wrong, making him see what he lost. But real strength wasn't in revenge. Real strength was in walking away. In building something better. In choosing happiness over bitterness. Simone had chosen herself. And in doing so, she had found everything she needed. The sun set completely and Julian stood, offering his hand. "Come on, Mrs. Montgomery. Let's go start our life." Simone took his hand and stood, smiling. "Lead the way, Mr. Montgomery." Together they walked into their house, into their future, into the life they had chosen to build together. A life based on truth, trust, and genuine love. And somewhere in Lagos, in an apartment Simone no longer owned, in a life she no longer lived, her past faded into memory. Not forgotten, but transformed into lessons learned and strength earned. The woman who had cried at Brandon's wedding was gone. In her place stood Simone Montgomery, successful designer, beloved wife, confident woman. She had found her happy ending not in spite of her past, but because she had learned from it. And that, she knew, was the best revenge of all. Not hurting those who hurt you, but living so well that their opinions became irrelevant. She had won. Not by defeating anyone, but by becoming herself. And that was everything.